friends and fellow Singaporeans. We've traveled from third world to first. You know the Singapore story to date well. Our question is, what is the next chapter of this story? Where do we want Singapore to be 20 years from now? The next 20 years will see many changes in the world. The first big question will be, will there be peace or instability in the world and in Asia? If it is not peace, if it is tensions, then we must brace ourselves for a rough ride. But if it is peace and prosperity worldwide, which looks likely, then it's going to be an exciting era of rapid progress and dramatic change. We are both a country and a city. So when we look forward into our future, we have to see our future against what other countries are doing and also against what other cities are doing in the world. In Asia, I expect many countries will continue to rise, and especially the biggest ones, China and India. And they will compete against us in many business areas, manufacturing, services, R&D, and in some areas, they will surpass us. And some parts of China and India will certainly surpass us. But at the same time, these big giants will offer many opportunities for Singaporeans. Their cities, Shanghai, Beijing, Mumbai, Bangalore, will become even more vibrant and exciting places to live and work. They already are. Not quite so comfortable, not quite so clean environmentally, but they will improve, and for their people, it will be exciting. For Singaporeans, it will be very pleasant too. In the developed countries in the West, the change may not be so dramatic, and their problems will be also not so easy to solve, like the problems which the Europeans are going through now. But their leading cities, like New York, Los Angeles, London, these, I believe, will continue to thrive because they are not only connected to their own countries and the problems in those countries, they are connected to the whole world. Talent flows in, resources flows in, ideas come in, new projects, new companies start up, new changes which influence the world. And we have to see ourselves against those cities and ask us, where do we want to be? One of the big changes in the world, which will change the world, will be technology. It will completely transform our lives. Already, it's a huge part of how we live, work, and play. We don't always realize it, but it is. If I ask who in this room does not own a handphone, please put your hand up. You know what I mean. But think 20 years ago, how it was in 1992. Not a lifetime ago, just 20 years. It wasn't like that. People used coin phones, card phones. When recruits were called up in camp, confinement, queue up to phone home, like that. Today, when you're called up, or when your sons are called up, BMTC Pulau Tekong, the first night, the instructors tell them, please use your handphone, call home. Call your mother first, then call your girlfriend. In 1992, the internet had not yet really come to Singapore. And nowhere in the world did anybody imagine Facebook or YouTube or how these gizmos and newfangled things would impact societies, impact our lives. And today, Singapore is one of the most wired countries in the world. So just think back those 20 years and ask yourself how you can imagine what 20 years from now will be like. Not just the technology, but what the technology has done to our lives. I just give you a few examples of things which we can see now, which I think will be big in the next 20 years. A lot of it to do with IT, with computers, with robots. The first one is this mysterious thing. This unidentified flying object was seen at a passing out parade on the floating platform recently. Recruit passing out parade. It circulated buzz on the internet. People asked, is this a secret spy project belonging to MINDEF? So I asked MINDEF, is this a secret spy project? MINDEF told me, after investigating the matter carefully, they said, no, it has nothing to do with me. This is a UAV, an unmanned aerial vehicle. No pilot, but it flies, it's smart. And whom does it belong to? Jack Neo filming his latest movie, Our Boys to Men. It's just one of many uses which UAVs will have in the future. The military use them, reconnaissance, targeting, communications. Civilians use them. You can use them for crowd control. You can use them for civil defense purposes. You can use them to manage crops, to keep track of what's happening on broad areas. So many countries are interested in this. The US Defense Research Agency, DARPA, ran a competition recently on the internet for people to design UAVs. Crowdsourcing. There was an NTU team which participated in this competition. It was called UAVforge.net. And the NTU team submitted a UAV, participated in this, and that entry was called Extractor X. Can I? There were 140 teams which competed in this competition from all over the world. Extractor X from Singapore got into the final 10 and eventually ranked 6th out of this 140. And I should tell you that amongst the people whom they came ahead of, one was the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and the other one was the Japanese Ministry of Defense. So I think that we did well. One day, when you fly SIA, you may fly UAV. It will take some time, but it is technically possible. What I'm not so sure is possible is that you can have something replace a Singapore girl. And that, I think the human touch will be there for some time to come. But UAVs are an example of robots, technology, computers, artificial intelligence, which is going to be pervasive. In healthcare too, we are going to see changes. A-Star is doing research on brain waves. Reading brain waves, using your brain just by thinking, you control a robot. And here, this person is using his brain. You see all the electrodes attached to his head. He's controlling the computer. The computer is controlling this machine, this arm, which is moving his left arm. So if you can imagine, if he is a stroke victim, this is something which can help him exercise, regain his strength, or move for him. Become like a bionic person. How will these technological advances affect us? It's not just a gee whiz factor, cute to talk about, but it's going to cause the whole economy to change, entire industries to alter. Retailers are under pressure from online shops, whether you're selling books, Amazon, whether you're selling videos. It's not even video delivered by mail, but video comes down your broadband. Even groceries, you can order, it'll be delivered. No need for the shop, no need for the expensive rental space. Some jobs will disappear. Others will have to be redesigned. Workers will have to be retrained. Learn to use technology, how to raise productivity. You may be cleaning, but you can't just be sweeping the floor. You have to use a machine to do it better. You may be a personal secretary, but your phone with Siri in a few years will be as smart as a personal secretary. The personal secretary will have to become office manager to do other things which a phone can't do. Our social norms will change. How we communicate with one another, how we interact with one another. It's going to transform Singapore in many ways which we can't tell. This year, National Day, we were or many of us were at a floating platform on the bay. Some of us were overseas. There was one group in Melbourne. They gathered, they watched it live streaming on the internet. Some of those kids' parents were at the bay. So we were having a remote joint celebration. They SMS one another. You're watching the show here, they are watching the show there. You're enjoying it, separated by 5,000 miles. It's a different world. Within Singapore, domestic factors will change Singapore too over the next 20 years. Some of these you can already see. A more mature economy, an aging society, a population which is better educated. But our future is not predetermined. It depends on ourselves. What we make of our resources, our education, our people, what we hope Singapore will be, and what we will Singapore to become. What we decide we want to be there, let's get there. We have to set a clear direction. We cannot just be blown off course or drift with the tides onto the rocks. So I asked Heng Swee Keat to lead a national conversation on our Singapore, to define what sort of country we want and how we can achieve it. So please join in this national effort. Think seriously about our future, contribute your ideas, work together to make it happen. In a rapidly changing world, Singapore must keep on improving, because if we stand still, we are going to fall behind. You may think you will be happy as you are, but when you see how the world has moved and what the human spirit is capable of elsewhere, we will not be happy. And even if we are, our children will not be happy. So we have to keep on moving. And if we adapt to changes and exploit new opportunities, we will thrive. So what should the next chapter of the Singapore story be about? I think if I summarize it very, very briefly in 3 words: hope, heart, home. We always have to offer hope of a better future in Singapore. An economy that creates opportunities for our people. A society that nurtures our people to the fullest potential. And a people who look to the future and not just back to the past. A nation where our children will live better lives than us, as we did our parents. We've done it in this generation, for this generation, with this generation. And it was brought home vividly to me recently in one MPS session when Mr. Topi Singh came to see me. He's a Teck Ghee resident. He works in the construction industry. He came to see me for some help because he needed a recertification for the construction safety orientation course. But he had a problem because he's illiterate. He can't read English, he can't read Chinese. He knows the safety rules, he can pass the exam, but he needs somebody to read the exam for him. So could I please write him a letter? So I happily wrote him a letter, then I had a chat with him and his wife after that. And he told me proudly that his 2 children were graduates. The daughter, Hsien, is an accountant with IRAS, this lady. And the son, Hsieng, is an A-star researcher. He graduated from Singapore Poly. He went to university overseas. Eventually, he earned a PhD from NUS. He was awarded an A-star international fellowship. He did a postdoc fellowship in Harvard, and now he's back, research scientist, Institute of Bioengineering and Nanotechnology. I believe researching the structure of bones. So Mr. To was happy that his children had done much better than himself. And his family reflects the experiences of so many other families in Singapore and epitomizes Singapore's transformation in one generation from third world to first, from somebody illiterate, never had a chance to learn to read, but brought up children have been to Harvard, researchers, working, doing well. But beyond the broad lessons, I'm sure you'll want to know what happened to Mr. Toh's MPS case. I got a reply from the NTUC Learning Hub, which was a training provider. They've automated their process now, so you don't need somebody to read the questions for Mr. Toh. They advised Mr. Toh to take the computer-based audio exam. So the computer will read the questions and Mr. Toh can answer. And I'm happy to say that Mr. Toh passed the examination. I know that our people sometimes worry about the future. Can our children really do better than us? But if we take a step back and look at where we are objectively and see our situation in perspective, I think the answer is we are in much better shape than we give ourselves credit for. We have strong fundamentals. What do we mean? A world-class workforce, sound finances, a system that works. It's not perfect. Every now and then something goes wrong, and every time an MRT malfunctions, we are reminded of this. But we can fix these imperfections and we can keep on making it better. We may be very conscious of our shortcomings, but others have a high regard for what we've achieved. I met the president of MIT recently, Susan Hockfield. She was then about to retire, and she was going on a visit to many countries in Asia. She came here, I knew her, gave her dinner. And she told me how impressed she was with Singapore. She said, Singapore is the only country where you can see the full potential of the human spirit. And this is a person, head of one of the top institutions in the world, the brightest. She's got people from all around the world. She's traveled. She tells me this, completely unsolicited. I think we should give ourselves a little bit of credit. If we all work together and confidently tackle our problems, then I think we will improve our lives. On jobs, we are bringing in many new investments. We are creating new and better jobs. In fact, more jobs than we have persons to do them. We are strengthening the core of the workforce, the Singapore core of the workforce. We are offering new Singapore industry scholarships for Singaporeans to go to university and work for local companies to build up our local companies. This year alone, 90 scholarships and more to come. We're upgrading our low-income workers, whether it's cleaning, security industries, or others. The opportunities are there. Take advantage of them, upgrade yourselves to become more productive, to become more employable. Public transport. I mentioned MRT just now. We are making major investments in trains. $60 billion over 10 years. Many lines coming on. Thomson Line work is going to start very soon. It goes from Woodlands to Marina Bay. The downtown line from Bukit Panjang to Changi Expo will open in phases starting next year. But train projects by their nature take time, major investments, and you have to plan well ahead. So while we do the trains, we are also working on the Bus Services Enhancement Program, BSEP. It was a little bit controversial when we announced it in the budget, but it's a good thing. I think it's the right thing to do, and it will benefit many, many Singaporeans. And the commuters should start to see new buses, new services, and better frequencies under the BSEP starting by next month, progressively as we phase in the additional buses and as we hire and train the new drivers. On aging and healthcare, new hospitals are on the way. Ng Teng Fong Hospital in Jurong and the next one in Sengkang, well under planning. We are building more nursing homes and daycare centers. But on your part, please make the effort. Keep fit, live healthily is the best and the cheapest healthcare anyone can provide himself. On housing, we are cutting the waiting time to book HDB flats, and I'm confident that nearly every Singaporean household can afford and can get their own home. We've done it before, we can continue to do it. There's enough space to accommodate the whole population, even as it grows somewhat. We're developing more housing estates. In the longer term, we will reclaim more land. And we're not just building flats, but creating better living environments with green spaces, blue waters, clear skies. And with your help, we are building stronger communities. Communities where people live happily together, where people cooperate with one another. There's one thing I should mention apropos housing before I move on, and that is the question of housing for singles. It's something which is on the minds of many Singaporeans because the single numbers have gone up. Singles can buy HDB flats on a resale market and get a government grant, CPF grant, but they are not yet allowed to buy HDB flats directly from HDB. And I think this has caused some concern because resale prices have gone up. I fully understand these concerns. I should say MND also fully understands the situation, and I would also say Corbyn 1 is looking actively at the matter. Beyond these immediate challenges, we have to look ahead, prepare ourselves for the longer term. And the most important long-term investment we can make is in our people and to make it through education. It's the key response to progress in technology and to the changing world. If you ask, how do I cope with UAVs, with technology, with computers, with life sciences, with new processes and products, the answer is educate yourself for the new world. Learn to control the computers and robots. Don't get replaced by them. We've got to keep upgrading ourselves, outthink and outsmart the competition, and be smart enough to take advantage of the technology. And we have a good education system at all levels. Our universities produce graduates which are highly sought after here and abroad. This picture was taken, I think, in this room. There are more graduation ceremonies than National Day rallies held in this room every year. Our IT and poly students do brilliantly. They are considered world-class institutions. Nobody else has anything like that. They compete internationally, world skills competition. They win many medals. And the latest ones, hot off the press, is the FIRA World Cup, Robo Cup. This is not the FIFA World Cup, but this is the robots equivalent Federation of International Robotic Associations. They had the competition in Bristol, and yesterday was the finals, and we came back, the Nanyang Poly team, 12 medals. Seven gold, 3 silver, 2 bronze. There are two classes, bigger robots and smaller robots. So the large one, Evo Rocky, won the overall gold. What did it get gold for? Sprint, weightlifting, penalty kick, lift and carry, marathon. But this picture is the smaller robot. His name is Red Atom. And he is the world record sprinter. World record sprinter. 3 meters forward, 3 meters back. The robot has to run, and it broke the world record in 32 seconds. And BBC reported on this and described him as a Usain Bolt of robots. Our schools, students also do well. Across the board and at the top, they shine also in international competitions. This year, our team won the International Biology Olympiad. We hosted it, and we won the team first place. And the International Mathematics Olympiad, which I think was in Buenos Aires, a Singaporean, Lim Jack, NUS Maths and Science School, was the top student. He came first, full marks, the only one to score full marks this year. First time it's happened. But we are not just focusing on the best students. Yes, we ought to celebrate our gold medalists, our outstanding ones. But our schools and teachers are also doing their best for every student, from the weakest to the most talented ones. And that's why we say every school is a good school, every neighborhood you have a good school. And this is not just a slogan, this is a reality. I received an email recently from one of my residents. I use my examples because I know them, but if the other MPs will surely have similar. This was from a father, Mr. Balu. His son, Praveen, is a primary 6 student in Townsville Primary School. And he wrote me this. Where's Balu and Praveen? He said, I'm impressed by the openness and approachability of the teachers, together with the guidance and motivation of dedicated teachers like Madam Suhaizan and Mr. Kwek. My son performed much better in his mid-year exams. With such a dedicated team of educators, we are certain that my son will be much better prepared for his forthcoming PSLE. So every school is a good school. And if you look at this picture, it tells a story because they are posing in Townsville, and I've been there, and these pictures are not drawn by the teachers, they're drawn by the students because it's a niche area of excellence for Townsville Primary School. I can tell you that when I was in primary 6, I couldn't draw pictures like that, and I still can't. But today, the opportunities are there, and I think the results are showing. Beyond school, we're opening up more paths in higher education. Singaporeans have very high aspirations. Every parent wants his or her son to do as well as possible, go to university. And many ITE students hope to go on to the poly, and most poly students aspire to get a degree. One way or another, they want to get there. So we've been increasing our university places year by year for Singaporeans, but still more Singaporeans want to go. So last year, I tasked Lawrence Wong to study this issue. And he concluded that we should create more university places, but that we should focus on applied, practice-oriented degrees. For example, engineers, physiotherapists, social workers. Skills which are useful, which are in demand, which will help to get the graduates jobs. And we should not just churn out graduates, regardless of the quality of the employment opportunities. Set up the institutions, run the courses, print the degrees, produce the graduates, generate a lot of disappointment and unhappiness. Other countries have made this mistake. You produce unemployed graduates, underemployed graduates. Europe has got them, Britain, America, even China. Many graduates come out looking for work, can't find work. So we must avoid leading people up the wrong path, misleading them, that if you spend 3 years of your life doing this, at the end you will have a happy outcome. We must make sure that if we let people go that way and encourage people to go that way, that at the end the prospects are good. Right now, we have 2 institutions that work closely with industry and emphasize practice-oriented teaching. One is SIM University, called UNISIM, which is a private institution, and it runs part-time courses for adult students. And it collaborates closely with the industry. For example, it runs aerospace systems courses. And the courses include a practicum, meaning the students have to spend a certain number of hours or weeks with a company in the industry, working in the company, learning about the practical aspects of aerospace engineering. And they do the same with their social workers and their other courses. The other institution is SIT, the Singapore Institute of Technology, which has high-quality foreign partners in focus areas. For example, one partner is DigiPen, which is one of the top American institutions for interactive digital media. And here you'll see the student rendering something, and the younger ones among you will know that this thing is called an ATST, Star Wars, All-Terrain Scout Transport Walker. I confess I didn't know, I had to learn. But the young ones know, and they are going to master this. SIT is partnering Technical University of Munich, TUM, science and engineering courses. Here they are doing robots. I think this must be a robot soccer game. They are partnering the CIA, not the Central Intelligence Agency, but the Culinary Institute of America. Learn culinary arts. Again, one of the top institutes. And if you're going to be a chef or going to be running a restaurant, the CIA teaches you how to do it well. Here the students are learning from an American chef about pita bread. So SIT works with the foreign partners, and the degrees are currently awarded by these foreign partners. So what will we do? We will increase the full-time places for applied degrees. We will make SIT and UNISIM our 5th and our 6th universities. SIT will expand, and it will award degrees in its own name in addition to the partnerships it has. UNISIM will add full-time programs to its part-time courses, and it will build on its strong industry links, but it will remain a private university. And that way we can increase the current full-time university intake by a total of 3,000 students a year by 2020. In other words, today we take in 13,000 undergraduates a year, first year. By 2020, we will take in 16,000 students a year, 3,000 more. And that will mean 40% of each cohort will go to university, up from 27% today. And that will include more poly students and more JC students. And I think that it will help to meet the aspirations of many Singaporeans. That's for full-time, but at the same time, I think we should not forget the part-time students, the adult students. UNISIM runs part-time courses. I visited them recently. I was impressed with them, with their students too. Most of the students are in their late 20s or 30s, mostly poly grads, gone out to work, and decided to resume their studies while working. I chatted with some of them. I asked them, why did you want to do this? Take this path. They said, well, when they left school or poly, they were not certain what they wanted to do, so they started work. After a few years of work, they knew the job market better, they knew themselves better, they had decided what they wanted to do with their lives. They resolved to enroll in UNISIM and start up again. Married, with children, with jobs, but they had decided to do it and they were going to make it succeed. So I found them mature, clear in their own minds what they wanted to do in their lives, determined to succeed. Quite a different profile from young students who go straight to university and for whom all possibilities are still open. So it needs tremendous commitment and grit to succeed if you go to UNISIM, and I think we should help people like that. Sometimes both husband and wife attend the course at the same time. And I met one couple, Alex Toh and Natalie Chen, who are both on course at the same time. Alfred Toh and Natalie Chen. Alfred is doing marketing, Natalie is doing visual comms. Midway through the course, Natalie got pregnant. So the course had to pause. The baby was born, but when the baby was a little bit older, Alfred and Natalie resumed their course. And now the baby is a toddler, Hsien, and Alfred and Natalie are about to graduate. So I think they deserve our congratulations. So this is a very good option for some segment of our students to leave school, go to work, and then later on, when you're clear of what you want to do something which is focused, practical, and will help take your life aims forward. So we should give them more support. How? We'll make more part-time places available. And secondly, we will extend government bursaries and loans to Unison part-time students so that they get the same support as part-time students in NUS and NTU. When I met the students, some of them asked me, says, can you allow us to take our CPF for education, just like people can for the full-time courses? I said, no, you're working, you have responsibilities, your CPF is for your house and your future. We will give you more support. I would prefer the government help you rather than you take from your CPF. And I think with the bursaries and with the loans and with the scholarships, this will help those who have some financial difficulty to achieve their ambitions and their aspirations. MOE will announce the details later, but I hope Singaporeans will take advantage of this, not just to collect a piece of paper, but to develop yourselves, learn something useful, make a contribution to society. At the other end of our education system, we also need to improve the quality of our preschool education. Once upon a time, education used to start when you went to school and entered primary 1 or standard 1. My mother's generation, it was like that, about 90 years ago now. She only learned to read when she went to school. And it wasn't because she was disadvantaged or deprived. It was the norm. That's how kids learned. And she never felt any loss, and she managed perfectly well in life. But when it came to my turn, she sent me at a young age to Nanyang kindergarten to learn Mandarin. And that was 50 plus years ago. Times had changed by then, and times have changed even more now. Family structures have evolved. There are more nuclear families, just husband and wife, and fewer children. More dual-income parents. So fewer opportunities for the kids to socialize at home with grandparents, with elder siblings, with cousins. We now know how important the early years are for children's development. The brain is most receptive to learning certain things at that age, especially languages, sounds, grammar, pronunciation. It's an age where kids can gain confidence and curiosity about the world around them. What's that? Let's go and explore. Let's take a small risk, learn what is dangerous, what is not. It's also when kids should pick up positive behavior, social skills, and learning attitudes. When to queue up, take your turn, share. And so good preschool education will prepare students to enter primary 1, and it will provide many long-term benefits later on in life. Whether in terms of your career stability, in terms of not getting into trouble with drugs or with crime, in terms of your family stability when you get married. So today in Singapore, nearly 99%, nearly all children, in fact more than 99% of kids already attend preschool. There's a diverse mix of operators. 2 key anchor operators, we call them AOPs. One is NTUC, the other one is a PAP Community Foundation. They are the anchor operators. They have just under half the total market, and many different private providers as well. The government provides financial support to make preschool affordable. And we also provide support to the anchor operators to raise their standards. We've been doing this for several years. We're making progress, but I think it's not enough, and we have to do more. I think we have to substantially raise the quality of preschool education for children aged 5 and 6 years old, especially the AOPs, the mass market anchor operators. And at the same time, we have to keep preschool affordable, especially to the middle and lower income households. Because if you're going to raise standards considerably, it's going to mean more resources, higher costs. You're going to recruit more teachers, even better quality teachers. It's going to cost money. And if you're going to do that without raising the cost to the parents and keeping it affordable, the government has to come in. Our objective is to level up all our students and make a positive difference to their development, especially the students from the disadvantaged homes. So the government will invest substantial resources in preschool education and play a more active role. First of all, we'll establish a new statutory board to oversee preschool education. Secondly, we'll provide and upgrade preschool teacher training to raise standards. Thirdly, we'll bring in new anchor operators in addition to PCF and NTUC. And fourthly, we'll upgrade the anchor operators, the existing one as well as the new ones, so that they can improve the careers which they can offer the teachers. They can offer structured development opportunities for the staff. They can introduce creative learning methods for the students, but to raise the base, the quality of the mass market. And fifthly, we will pilot a few government-run preschool centers to test new concepts in kindergarten education. And finally, we'll give more support to lower and middle income families so that it stays affordable. But we will not nationalize the preschool sector. I read the debates in the newspapers over the last few months. Some people want the government to pao ga liao. I think the government has a role to play, but the government's role is not to do everything. There's a mix of operators, and I think having a mix of operators offers diversity and choice. I think the choice is useful for parents because different parents will have different views, what their kids need, and different kids will have different needs. So we shouldn't deprive parents of this choice, but instead we should raise the base. Make sure that wherever you go is a good kindergarten. I've sketched out the broad outlines, but how exactly to do this? Well, MOE and MCYS will follow up on the matter. The transformation will take some time, but I'm confident that 5 to 7 years, we will be able to see results. But I would like to offer one caution to parents. Please let your children have their childhood. Preschool is to teach the kids certain skills which are best learned at that age. Language, social skills, basic motor skills. It's not meant for you to prepare with a primary 1, primary 2 textbook and to drill the kid at 3 or 4 years old so that by the time he goes to P1, he already knows what the teacher is supposed to teach him. Education experts, child development specialists, they warn against over-teaching preschool children. You do harm. You turn the kid off, you make his life miserable. Instead of growing up balanced and happy, he grows up narrow and neurotic. No homework is not a bad thing. It's good for young children to play and to learn through play. So please, I've heard of parents who send their children to 2 kindergartens. I read of parents who send their kindergarten-aged children to tuition. Please don't do that. Education is vital to the future of Singapore, to creating hope for a better tomorrow. And hope is essential to our future and to the Singapore story.